Art show on Melanin Law Monday. I am Buddy Martin. Glad to be with you here tonight because we got a good show. Lots of news going on in recruiting. Wow, it is red hot. Also, some great games played in the College World Series. I'll discuss that. Have a talk about what happens to doctors, team doctors, when they operate on a player with an NIL deal and it goes wrong. It can happen. Dr. P. Indelicato will talk to us about that a little later on. I'm going to get Shane's view on the U.S. Open because I have a little different view of it. I know what he's going to say. I think I know, maybe I don't. It was an amazing and difficult week for the pros of the PGA Tour and also LIV. And Franz Beard will touch on the subject of the red-hot Florida Gators. I have some inside information for you on that, and just for you Gator fans, it's looking very promising. So why don't you just lay back and watch the show and tell your friends and neighbors the Buddy Martin Show will be on the air for the next hour. We invite your comments, as always. Go to our show here and just make your comment. We'd love to have your thoughts about it. Lots of things to talk about tonight. The Buddy Martin Show.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening. Welcome. Time to talk a little recruiting. We don't talk about it much on this show, but you can't avoid it because Florida is racking up all kinds of commits. And I'm hearing rumors, more than rumors, inside information. They're about to blow the lid off this thing in terms of commits. Of course, I know Shane Matthews always keeps up with recruiting. He'll have all the answers. I can't wait to talk to Shane about the U.S. Open. What did you think? You take two sides of this thing. I'm going to have a little commentary on it later on. You like to see the pros get tested, but I mean, does it go too far when things like this happen at Oakmont where it was just impossible to play that golf course? Well, I don't know. Two schools of thought. Give us your thoughts on that. We'll also be talking about, currently the LSU is leading UCLA 5-3, and the near perfect game pitched today by Arkansas's pitcher Gage Wood. Amazing. Third no-hitter in 78-year history, College World Series. And he threw, get this, folks, he threw 119 pitches. So what's with all these whiny pitches in the big leagues that only can go 6 innings? This kid goes 119 and only gives a one base runner. An amazing performance. I watched every bit of it, and it was just a great baseball game to watch. They won advance the losers bracket. They beat the Murray State, the unfortunately Cinderella. Let's go talk to Shane. He's the host, of course, for the morning show, Pot Up with Matthews. If you haven't been listening to it, you should. It's good information there. And Shane, of course, is always spectacular with his personality, a jokester, a regular guy. Just laughs it up, yucks it up. Hello, Shane. How you doing?
What's going on, buddy?
Shane. Well, let's talk to the guy about the golf. All right, go ahead and get that out of the way. I know there's some go, oh, no, not golf. But this was something really unusual, to me, a bit painful. There's two ways you can look at this, and I'm going to let you go and talk about it. I got some comments to make about it. I'm not really sure which way I'm going to go yet on it, but bottom line is we love to see the best players in the world struggling on the toughest golf course in difficult conditions because we think, well, they're the best. What can they do? And they all have the same situation, all conditions, although nobody ever does because tee times vary, conditions vary, golf courses conditions change. And so we saw a wonderful golf course, one is considered one of the best in the world, Oakmont near Pittsburgh. And we saw the field get humbled, and one guy fell back and rallied and came back again and won it in a marvelous fashion. All credit due to him, JJ Saun. But to me, I have to wonder, is it worth it? Do you want to see the game like that in its natural state?
Absolutely. I thought it was one of the greatest golf tournaments I've ever watched because it's the hardest golf course in the world. And you have the best players in the world. And, buddy, there's one thing that slows down the best players in the world. It's called rough. You hit it out of the fairway, you should be penalized. And this is the only golf tournament that I've ever seen where they were penalized. You know, I love Augusta National. They'll never grow the rough, but if you hit in the rough there, it's like being in the first cut of the fairway. There's nothing there to it. I thought it was outstanding. And that's what the U.S. Open's all about. It should be hard. And I watched every minute of every telecast starting. I mean, I sat here for 8 or 9 hours watching it because I absolutely love those guys being challenged.
So you invested about 30 hours this week in watching golf, probably.
Yeah, I literally, whenever it came on the telecast, I even watched it when it wasn't on the telecast where I could watch just certain groups.
Peacock, you watched.
Well, I don't know. It comes on my channel where you could watch 5 different groups.
Yeah, it's Peacock.
And I didn't even know I had it, but I thought it was great. It's remarkable to me what Gil Hans, or Hans, however you pronounce his name, when he redid that golf course. Just the little things that he did to it to make it so damn hard.
Okay, that's fair, and I think probably most people would certainly side with you. But let me just say to you 2 things. Oakmont was a beast. The best players on the planet were stymied by Henry Founds, his masterpiece. He, of course, and his brother were in the steel wheel business when they started building this golf course all those years ago. And they wanted it to be the hardest golf course they could get, and they certainly got that. And I understand the concept. But when it becomes unplayable, which it was close to doing. I've been to that tournament twice in Oakmont, the U.S. Open. It's the same course where Johnny Miller shot a 63, and I was there for that. I didn't see him shoot it because he shot in the morning. So it is a golf course you can score on under it. But you know what they did to the trees? Now, all the great architects, and I used to have one of my best friends was a golf course architect for Earl Palmer, and we talked about this. And his idea was to build the best golf course as the land allowed. Let the landscape dictate to you what you're trying to do. Don't try to trick it up, And that was something that all the great architects did. Now, you know how many trees they removed from that golf course?
Yeah, it's like 5,000, right?
15,000.
15,000, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's not exactly leaving its natural state. Now, I get they wanted to make it more like a links course, but it's not a links course. It is wonderfully manicured. I wrote a piece talking about the fact that it's almost like saying they've got terrazzo slick greens, Grand Canyon deep bunkers, razor thin fairways look like the Indy 500, and ankle high rough. Now, it was not as bad the first couple of rounds because it didn't have any wind or rain. When the wind and the rain came, forget about it. It was just brutal. So I just present this scenario, and I respect your opinion on this. I know you're a student of the game, but I'm just saying, you want a masterpiece, right? You want to try to have a masterpiece. They got a masterpiece for a golf course. If you want to have a masterpiece event, you want the best players to do well. None of them did. I mean, we didn't have Scotty Scheffler just barely showed up the last day, and he never really made a bid for it. So if I were going to do, let's just say, I would go to a museum, and I wanted to see the greatest artist in the world. If I went in there and they didn't have Picasso or Monet, Van Gogh, Rembrandt, I'd kind of feel cheated. And so I think of it like this: who was playing in that tournament? You're not watching that golf tournament to watch those guys on the leaderboard, but they did it, and it was a wonderful putt he made and a drive he made at the end there. So I give him all the credit in the world for losing and coming back. But that's two ways of thinking about it. JJ Saun.
Well, I mean, with the weather changing, that obviously maybe they should have postponed it or whatever, but they wanted to get it in on Sunday. Look, JJ Spawn's the 25th player in the world. It's not like he's just.
I know he's been playing solid, but he's not a.
Yeah, I know the average fan wants to see the top 4 players in America or in the world be in contention. That does not happen in golf. There's too many good players. You can go through the history of all the U.S. Open winners, and you're going to have a ton of dudes on there that people don't know who they are. That's golf. It's a damn hard sport, probably the hardest sport in the world. And there's so many good players. And I thought it was a phenomenal golf tournament.
I thought it was unfortunate that the player who was the guy that asked for a ruling.
Sam Burns.
Yeah, it's Sam Burns. He asked for a ruling, and it clearly affected his outcome. He butchered that hole, and you can see the water fly. I understand how you have to kind of play close to this, but it was. It was just too bad to have to happen that way, and it did cost him the tournament. But I don't think there's anything underhanded about it. Just made a call, and unfortunately penalized Burns. He had a great chance. He played well for 3 days, but so did Spawn. He played well.
I've never seen a player get as many bad breaks as JJ Spawn did on the front nine.
He did. He had the black stick. He had all kinds of things happening. And the fact that he made for 5 straight bogeys, right, the 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came back and won. So I give him all the credit in the world for that, and good for him. I'm not knocking his effort. Okay, that's that. We set our golf for the day. All right, Shane. They are knocking it out of the park. By the way, Dr. P. Indelicato coming up here in a little while to talk about something I hadn't thought about the doctors are really under a lot of pressure in these teams, because if they're asked to operate on one of the players with an NIL contract and the surgery doesn't go well, the doctors are liable for that. So there's something I'm going to talk to him. He'll be on shortly. We'll talk about that. That's something that's off the field. I understand, but something's important. Shane, listen to this list of people the Belly Apers signed in the last 15 days, okay? I'll start with they got some big linemen. I got that kid, Javari Luca, 3-star. The guy, Geneva Carr, there's a local kid that went to IMG. They got the 3-star offensive tackle, Chancellor Campbell, 3-star tight end, Kuka Alma. I can't pronounce his name. Alma. Then they got a 4-star offensive tackle, Tyler Chucky M. 4-star safety, Caden Hall. 4-star wide receiver, Justin Williams from Gainesville. You know him. 4-star running back. This happened. Carson Baker was signed. The wide receiver, 4-star Marquez Daniel. Now the 4-star defensive lineman, some people calling him a 5, Jarrell McCoy. They have been on fire, and the tip I got, somebody deep inside the program, very close to it, said, look out, the Gators are going to blow the top off this thing in the next 2 weeks. Have you heard any of that?
I haven't, buddy. You know I don't follow recruiting. I know they've done real well. I had Graham Hall talk about it today. And again, not to be Debbie Downer here or anything, because I'm very excited. It's great news. But again, these are all verbal commitments, and we know how this stuff changes weekly, monthly, through the course of a season. And Now with all the money that schools have, the $20.5 million plus the NIL, you know, a school can call up a Buddy Martin today and say, hey, we'll give you twice as much as what this school is paying you. So, I mean, it's great what's going on, but until they're in the uniform, I don't really pay much attention to it.
Well, they can't do anything now
Right.
for next year. It's all tidied up. So, and I understand what you're talking. There's a temporary nature of it that's a little scary, I grant you. But if you look at trends, and it's just like the stock market, you basically have to look at trends, and you see how the ebbs and flows has looked really good for clearly Billy Napier has got something going on. And someone told me that he was very high up in there and very high, close to the throne, that watch out. Florida's just going to blow the top off this whole thing over the next 3. Now, we've got to get him in camp, got to coach him up, got to get him on the field and go into games. I get all that. I was told today by somebody who has a little knowledge, don't count on anything necessarily this year to win championships. But by next year, start thinking about championships by 2006. I don't know. I'm hoping for 9 wins and a chance at the playoffs for this year, aren't you, Shane?
Oh, I think it's critical to be in the talk in October. I don't think people want to go another year saying let's wait till next year or what have you. I think it's very important this year.
Well, it feels like with the 4-game winning streak they had and the way they're playing and the quarterback coming back and the reports that he's throwing well, and the rooms that they got, including the running back room, it seems like something's going on, yet you don't see it reflected in the selections. People are picking Florida 11th in the league, 10th in the league, 8th in the league. Now, keep in mind, if you're 7th or 8th in the SEC, you're probably top 10 in the country at the same time. But I don't know. Are you getting a sense something's going on there or not?
Well, I think you're still around the nation. It's wait and see, right? Won 4 games to end the season, but that really means nothing going into this season because you have some players back. You lost some players to the draft. You lost some players to other schools. It's a whole new season. I think the Gator fans are excited, but the national people still look at the schedule. What games are at home, what games are away, things like that. So, look, it's all going to come down to find ways to win games. And I'm not worried about next year. All I care about is this year. And I think it's imperative that we're in the playoff talk come October, late October.
What positions? I know you talked about the front 7 a lot last couple of years. I think some of that has gotten better. Obviously, with all the sacks they got against LSU and Nussmeier, that was big. What room, as they call, are you most concerned about?
It's still early. I guess I'm always concerned about the front defensively because I know we've had some guys that played well at times last year, but I talk about it all the time. As an offensive guy, who is that one guy from a game plan standpoint you have to make sure that we don't let that guy disrupt the entire football game? I don't know if we have one of those guys. Now, we might, but we need to see it, right? So that's my biggest concern. I think offensively we got a chance to be very good. Obviously, a lot of it depends on if DJ is going to be 100%. I'm still concerned when teams play a zone defense. He has not been very good against zone.
Yeah.
But if you run the football the way we're capable of running the football, you don't get zone. You're going to get a lot of man.
Right.
And that's when he does his best.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you do if you were coaching him differently?
Oh, I don't know. I think they do a fine job.
Now, what would you do, though, if you coached you next year? What would be the things, just on what you know now? Are any particular plays that you'd call more suited for him.
Well, we don't. Look, it's a coach's job to call plays where the player has a chance to succeed or feels comfortable. We weren't very good at the intermediate stuff, from the 5 yards to the 15-yard areas. And a lot of that has to do with timing, anticipation, things like that. Very good deep thrower. We all know that. I would work on that, but some people just don't have a knack for it. He may not have a great knack for it, and why call it if you're wasting plays? So do what he does well and go from there.
I think his running is going to surprise people. I think he's a really, really good runner.
I think he's a decent runner. I don't think they're going to call a bunch of runs for him personally.
Well, they expose him.
I think he'll scramble, but I don't think they're going to call a bunch of runs.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. But even when he scrambles, he can make some yards. All right, Barone, one of your guys that you talk to usually says, I agree with QB. 2026 would be Napier's 5th year, and most likely Lagway's last year. There should be no wait till 2026. It's about 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And he says defensive tackle is the position I'm most concerned with in 2025. Your comments?
Well, I agree. There's no waiting around. But, defensive tackle, big guys inside, man. You go back to when Urban was here, when Coach Spur here, we all had great guys on that side of the ball. And, they talk about the SEC being a interior lineman league. And I like our offensive line. I like our defensive guys. But I want one guy that you have to worry about on every play to disrupt the offense. I want to find that one guy.
That disruptor, yeah. I see what you're saying. Well, I think that'd be nice. And certainly they had some of it against LSU. So you think LSU is overrated or about where they should be? Because this guy here thinks Kelly is just a lot of hot air.
Well, I'm taking Brian Kelly out of the mix here. I think LSU's roster is outstanding. I think it'll be the best roster they've had in quite some time. I'm not real up to date on their defensive roster, but I think skill wise, they're as good as anybody in America at the quarterback position and wide receivers.
Well, they're all just skilled athletes for sure. Nussmeier, if he can hold up, of course, he get beat up pretty bad at the end of the year. Franz, what they get 8 sacks on him or 7?
Florida got him 8 times, and even Lindy says they have the 13th best offensive line in the SEC. If you can't protect your quarterback, it doesn't matter how good your receivers are if you can't protect them. And I don't think they can protect him. I don't think he's got a particularly quick release, as Alabama discovered. Alabama didn't sack him but a couple of times, but they forced him into all kinds of rotten throws because he does not have the quickest release in the world. Strong arm, though, no question about it. Can make a lot of good throws. But I look at it like this. Brian Kelly had Jaden Daniels, the best quarterback on the planet, for 2 years, and he lost 7 ball games with him. He lost 4 ball games last year with the best offensive line in the country, and they couldn't run the ball. They averaged 128 yards a game running the football. I mean, that's pathetic. You got to average at least 150 yards a game in the SEC if you're going to win ball games.
How much does he make? Does he make $10 million a year or $12 million? What does he make?
$11 million. $11
million. Shane, are you high on Nussmeier?
I think he's really good. He'll be a first-round draft pick.
Yeah. Well, he obviously knows the game. He throws a nice ball. He's accurate. Commands the huddle pretty well. But like Franz says, does he have the personnel he needs at LSU?
Well, I don't follow a lot of linemen and all that stuff. Franz knows all that stuff better than I do. I look at guys that score touchdowns, and they added some really good players in the portal. They've always had good wide receivers. We'll see. I mean, if they can't protect him, they got problems. But I think throwing and catching, they could be as good as anybody in America.
Oh, I don't disagree with you, Shane. I think they can, but against good teams, they're going to rush the passer. I think he's going to be average like he was last year against Florida. He was very average against Florida. He was very average against Alabama. They lost 4 ball games last year. And, Alabama beat them 42-13. And Alabama wasn't anything spectacular on defense last year. But, anything's possible. Brian Kelly has a history of, he was at Notre Dame. He won all the games he's supposed to win, but then he'd play the games that are 50-50 games and he'd lose them. Somebody mentioned here before he won at Cincinnati. Well, yeah, so did Butch Jones win at Cincinnati. So did the coach now at who's at Wisconsin win it. Lots of people have won at Cincinnati. That's not a big deal. He was at one time. But here's the thing: you got to be able to have a defense, which he obviously, and he stuck with the same coordinator, and their defense sucks. And it sucked last year. It sucked the year before. It sucked the year before that. I'm not sold on him. I'm really not sold on him. Plus, I think his personality is like a fart in an elevator.
Okay. With that note, let's talk about the groups we think are really going to be impressive. We kind of know a few. Certainly the running backs. I'm a huge Jaden Ball fan, as you all know. And now they got a couple other guys that are toting the rock good. And then the Wilson boys. Eugene Wilson, since 2003, has had 97 targets and 0 drops. That's pretty cool, wouldn't you say?
Well, particularly if it was since 2003, buddy. Might have been 2023. If he was 2003, he'd be the oldest player in the history of the SEC.
I meant to say 2023.
I know. I'm just teasing you, Bud Light. Somebody got to lighten you up,
Well, Dr. Indelicato is here. He'll lighten me up. Let's talk to him for a second. And I think it's a very important thing we haven't talked about. And Shane, I don't know if you knew this. I didn't. And most people I've talked to have not known. So Dr. Pete informed me of that today. Haven't had him on in quite some time. Let's welcome back the former team physician of the New York Giants, Miami Dolphins, Florida Gators, BK Young. No, I'm just going to get. How are you, Doc?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Shane, Franz?
Doing great. Since you told me what to do about my plantar fasciitis, I hadn't had it yet.
Everybody,
I'll send you a bill tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hey.
Free medical advice.
Checks in the mail, Doc.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So let me just tell me when I talked to Dr. Pete today, Pete, good to see you again, by the way. I said to ask about concussions because I don't know what's going on with the medical world. I hear, and he said, well, concussions, that's not a topic now. I said, well, what is? And he told me, if I say this right, that the exposure that team physicians are going to get when they deal with NIL athletes is really one of concern. Am I right, Pete?
Yeah, that's right, buddy. The fact that these athletes have a designated dollar value to them makes taking care of them a little more risky. And I'll give you an example. Theoretically, let's say an athlete has a 7-figure NIL contract because he or she is a star wide receiver for a university. All right. And that person, before they get hurt, can run a 4.3 40. All right. He or she tears their ACL, has a reconstruction, comes back in 9 months, a year. And instead of running a 4.340, runs a 4.540. The doctor did his best operation, but now the kid's dollar value goes down because he doesn't have that market value as he did, let's say, when he started. And the agent says, well, maybe the doctor didn't do such a good job. Let's send them out for a second or third opinion. And we all know the reality of the situation is that attorneys can find physicians that will provide the answer that they want.
Mm-hmm. Paid experts. Yeah.
Paid experts. So now this doctor is on the docket because this kid can't play as well. And this isn't just theory. There is a well-documented case in the NFL where a journeyman sort of an NFL player had an injury to their knee, went to a nationally recognized orthopedic surgeon, had knee surgery. The doctor did the best job he could. The athlete couldn't re-sign with that particular team. The agent sent him for a second opinion. The other doctor said, well, you should have done this, that, and the other. To make a long story short, they went to a jury trial and the jury settled in favor of the player for $43.5 million.
Oh my gosh.
Damn. I got to go back to some of my injuries or some of my doctors then, Doc.
Yeah. Go ahead, Shane. $43.5 million. The doctor's malpractice cap was $5 million.
Wow.
All right. So I'll play it out. So this particular doctor, let's say, works for a very well-known, recognized healthcare system, or he works for a multi-member, 80-member orthopedic group. All right, and they say, wait a minute, you're being exposed to the tune of millions of dollars for operating on somebody. And then somebody raised the answer, well, what do you get for that operation? Do you get $50, $80, $100,000? And the NFL, and Shane, you know this, it's a workman's comp injury, right? You heard it at work. Whether he's an NFL player or a plumber, he hurts his knee on the job. So it's workman's comp wages or fees, I should say. So that doctor collected $1,100 for that procedure and exposed himself and his group to $40 million.
Oh.
So now,
they're saying, I know it's not a good deal.
So now they're saying, wait a minute, we're not going to do this anymore. We don't care how much of a marketing benefit it is to have our doctors take care of these athletes. The risk is too much. And that's where we are today, is that what was just a concern for a handful of doctors taking care of professional athletes, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, has now trickled down to the college level where these athletes are making a reasonable income and provided that they are out there on the field. So
what are they going to do, Pete?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, this is what may happen is that the more skilled doctors that these athletes would seek are no longer making themselves available.
Okay.
So it's basically these athletes and their agents are shooting themselves in the foot. And if it ever gets in college ball where athletes are employees of the university and there's collective bargaining and all this stuff, then that when that athlete injures his or her knee,
Yeah.
it's a workman's comp case.
Yeah.
So Dr. Pete, question: Can a university team doc say, I don't think I want to operate on so and so's shoulder?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, can they say that? Of course they could say that. They say, no, you need to go find yourself another doctor.
Okay, is the answer maybe that, okay, the kid has to sign a contract that says he will do business only with, if he's injured, with the doctors provided by, I mean, this is I see this as a possibility, but I also see the liability there because, okay, what happens if your doctors on your team suck? If you say that, okay, you can only deal with these doctors, you've signed a contract that says that these doctors will take care of you through thick and thin, whatever like that.
Yeah, well, of course, athletes can always go wherever they want to go. And now that's becoming more and more of a common situation. Athletes are going off to seek second or third opinions and having surgery done outside of the university. Okay. The problem is that the people that are going to be willing to take that risk are not necessarily going to be the most skilled doctors available.
Yeah.
So it's a real dilemma, and it's becoming more and more of a challenge, and more of a visible challenge that we're dealing with.
It's not something you think about, the downside to all this money. There's probably a lot of other things out there similar to this that will be impacted. But until you brought it up, I had not thought about it. Certainly, liability is going to go up. Final thing for you, Pete, and let you go. As we move forward in the modern era of medicine, with all the ability we have now to take care of people, is there one particular injury that keeps popping up for these players in football, or is it still the knees?
Well, I mean, I think the knee is a lot less of a challenge today than it was, when I started practice 100 years ago, because we've developed such an extensive data log of what's the best procedure to do, when to do it, and how to monitor their recovery. So I would say what used to be the knee may now be the shoulder, or as you spoke about earlier, buddy, concussions, where it's still a very much evolving science.
I understand you had dinner with one of the leading experts all time in these surgeries recently, right?
You talking about Dr. Andrews?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to be invited to be his keynote speaker at a meeting not that long ago. So
yeah.
He's retired. Jimmy's pretty much retired now, and he's easing into what retirement life is like.
He's 83, right?
What's that?
He's 83, right?
Yes.
And he does.
Dr. Pete, I guess you would agree then with what Coach Spurrier said. He said the players are getting bigger, stronger, faster than they've ever been, but the field stays the same size. And he pointed that out as his answer for why the severity of the injuries, there's no place to hide anymore because the players are so big and so much faster and so much stronger.
Yep. Yeah, Pete and I've talked about that many times. That it's the mathematics of that deal.
Yeah,
it's going to happen for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go, Pete. Good talking to you. Talk again soon. All right. Take care, my friend.
Guys.
Dr. Indelicato, one of the leading team physicians ever in the history of the game, and a terrific guy. Good to have you on again, Pete. We'll talk soon. All right, Shane, before I let you go, let me just make sure I do my sponsors right here and tell them how much you love them because they sponsor you. Meldon Law, sponsor of Meldon Law, Monday with Meldon Law. Our good friend who's just back from a wonderful trip with his pal Todd Golden. Jeffrey Meldon enjoyed his trips out to California, Texas, and to North Carolina, and he is he's right there back in. Got his scroll up again, got his shingle up again. I talked to him the other day. He's ready to go back to work and get to take care of the business. He's been working the whole time. But Jeffrey Meldon is not only a terrific lawyer, he's a really great guy. You all know him, what he does for Florida. Meldon Law is the only official law firm of the University of Florida. And Jeffrey's done many. I was reading a story about George Steinbrenner and what he did for University of Florida, got him lights and got him the band buildings, etc. Well, Jeffrey Meldon has done a lot for Florida too, including getting transportation for the band, as a matter of fact. So Jeffrey Meldon, he's all Gator, he's all attorney. He won't back down. Meldon Law. Shane, tomorrow morning on your program, you're going to talk a little about baseball, about the College World Series. What a game that got through today.
Yeah, we'll talk with that. We'll talk whatever you want to talk, buddy. And then we're going to have former offensive lineman Mike DeGory. Y'all remember him?
Gosh, I don't. When
Target center for 4 years.
Yeah, coached college ball for a long time. Now coaches high school ball. We're going to have him on tomorrow.
Okay, should be a good program. As always, catch it tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Oh, I got to get out up here at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's okay. Shane stays up late to do the show, too.
That's right. Way past my bedtime.
It would have been 2 hours. 2 hours ago. No Monday Night Football. Thanks, Shane. Shane Matthews. Talk to you tomorrow.
Take care, Shane. Good to see you.
All right, Francis, what a week and couple of weeks Billy is having with recruiting. I read the list of people off that have gotten committed just the last couple of weeks. We're hearing all kinds of rumblings about Florida just busting at the seams with people who want to come to Florida. We have some spies on the inside who have told us about what's happened at some of these top flight meetings of these players that come in. Florida just had their class of 40 in there for 2006, and they can get a lot of players. As a matter of fact, someone said to me, don't be surprised if you see Florida turning down some top prospects because they don't have enough room for them all. So what are you hearing, Franz?
Well, the momentum is clearly on Billy's side. And, buddy, as you know, football, all sports, just about, they're games of momentum. You get the momentum, whether it's in the recruiting or on the field, et cetera, like that. It just picks up the whole and lifts the whole organization when you do something like that, whether it's win a bunch of games like Billy's done. And the momentum of those 4 games, as you've been talking about, the carryover there. People are seeing Florida as an up and coming. They're coming to Florida, talking to Billy Napier, then they're talking to DJ Lagway when they're here. And what are they doing? They're saying, wow, this guy cares about players. He cares about the people. One of the things, and this guy Lagway, what a guy, what a leader. And here's the thing that I've heard from several people that has been a real selling point is, yeah, they go through the typical, if you come here, this is how we'll use you. But that may be 20% of the weekend, the spiel on the weekend. The guys are leaving here because they and their moms and dads are leaving here thinking, this guy cares about me. This guy really cares about the people on his team. He's not trying to sell me a bill of goods. He's trying to sell me on being a better me, being part of something that's bigger than me, the team, and collectively, let's do something special together. And this is what I'm hearing, and I think that there's something to be said about that. We talked last week that Billy, from my perspective, is building the team from the ground up. He didn't come in with all the transfers and try to do it this way. He's tried to do it this way. It's taken longer. He's had some losses that I know he wishes he could get back, but he can't. But he's got the team now, I think, buddy, where he wants it to be. And you look at what the recruiting, and this is how all the recruiting ties in. He's going to be able to sustain success because now the kids want to come here and be here at Florida and play for him and play with DJ Lagway and these other guys that are part of I think something that's going to be special.
Yeah, the story of the weekend, and the quarterback coach Ryan said, that he just made everybody better, and what a leader. And then last year he was able to take the plays and basically do them like paint by the numbers, and this year he just gets the whole concept. It's a completely different level of quarterback he's playing right now. Lots and lots of comments about what Dr. Pete said. David Arnold talking about retrospective medicine, he says. I'd comment about that. People interested in the subject. Your friend Bill Feinberg,
Yeah,
had some things to say about it too.
Especially the part about this is, buddy. This part about helmets, shoulder pads, and shoes have not kept up with the size and the speed and the strength of the players.
I've also noticed those helmets, so the ones that have the soft padding on them, that's different. They've had those a couple of years. I wonder if that has been effective. It must be they keep wearing them, right?
Well, there was a Duke University back when they were still a power in the early 60s. You remember that when they were still a pretty good ball club up there, and they were still winning ball games. Bill Murray was not the comedian, but the football coach, was a pretty damn good football coach.
And by the way, the father-in-law of one Bill Donegan of Gainesville. Did you know that? He was
yes, I did.
father. Yeah.
But he had them wearing up at Duke because Duke had a guy named Jay Wilson who came from Gainesville, Florida, was a first-team high school parade All-American offensive lineman for Jim Nyblack. Goes up there to Duke, started, the star on the freshman team, is all ACC 2 or 3 years for the Duke Blue Devils. And they were wearing helmets that had like about an inch of styrofoam or some kind of foam, I don't know exactly what it was, on top of it. And their guys were getting fewer headaches, fewer bells rung, etc., like that. And then along comes, and I think Bill Feinberg could probably address it. We need to get him on here someday because he was the equipment manager there for years and years and years at UF. Then along come these really hard plastic helmets with the shiny helmets that make a big pop, and they look good on TV, and they make the big sounds when they pop and everything like this. And the interior of the helmet got better, but the exterior almost became a weapon. And I think we've got to reevaluate the helmets.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's take a minute to talk about basketball.
Yep.
I know you've got a lot going on. You're working on a book on basketball.
I'll be up there in Gainesville tomorrow to see Todd Golden, Xavier Lee, and Boogie Fland.
There's some good ball players in there and a great coach. I keep hearing people talk about Todd Golden being stolen away. The Knicks are going to hire him, etc. He made explicit comments. Why would you want to live in New York when you live in Florida? So we're going to hear a lot of that. That's the down part of it. You get good and win championships, and people come for your coaches. But with this team they got coming back, boy, with players they've signed, I was trying to explain how good the backcourt's going to be again this year, even though they lost their 3 senior guards. And now with the front court being as good as it is, this team can play inside, outside, upside down, and backwards. And of course, you have to have things go a certain way, no matter how good you are. And this year, things managed to go the right way. You're down by 9 with 4 minutes to play. You got no chance, right? And they come back against Texas Tech, I guess it was. So talk about the book, your insights to that, who you're talking to, the progress of the book, what's it going to be about?
Well, the book's going to be about the championship season, starting from the beginning. And I'm starting the book basically with a breakfast I had with Todd Golden last summer when he looked me in the eye over at Miapa, the Latin restaurant over there on 34th. And he said, "We got some dudes." And that stuck with me all year, buddy. And it turns out Florida won because Florida had some dudes. Florida had the four big guys in the rotation. They could afford a guy getting in foul trouble because they had guys who were good behind him. They had the four guys rotating in the backcourt. And you had, among the big guys, you had that guy who turns into this hybrid monster named Tommy Hawk, who, I talked to an NBA guy the other day and he said, Franz, he said, don't be shocked if he's not the highest drafted player on this roster right now. And I'm thinking, whoa, you're talking about a guy that hasn't even had a whole season starting yet. But it goes back to something Tom Crean told me one day. If you remember, buddy, I got to talk to him and I quoted him in a story or two that I wrote when he said Florida had the perfect setup this year because they had 8 guys who are starters. And he says those 8 guys would start anywhere on any team in the country. And he's right. They did. And that's what made them successful. It's where they're going to go next year. They're going to be the most experienced team in the country. When you think about it, you're the least experienced guy on the team is going to be Boogie Fland, who's a 5-star guy that had he not been injured would have been in the draft and been a first-round draft pick this year. And he's the least experienced guy. And you got guys coming off the bench like Urban Klajar and A.J. Brown's going to come off the bench this year and his brother Isaiah. Florida is going to be the most experienced team in the country this year. And experience is what really saved them down the stretch this past year. Because you look at that backcourt, you had 4 guys who were 4-year starters. 3 guys who were 4-year starters. In Walter, 2 at Iona, 2 at Florida. Will Richard, 1 at Belmont, 3 at Florida. And Elijah Martin, 4 years. 4 years. Look at all that experience. It's great to have size, but you better have experience. And
I defer to you on your knowledge of the game, and I certainly defer to you on the knowledge of this team. You know as much about it as anybody. And I'm looking forward to that great book that's coming out. However, let me just say this. It's just like a restaurant, okay? When you change people, a lot of times when a restaurant's sold, someone comes in and keeps the same menu, the same chef, everything, but it's just not the same. And in 2 years, the restaurant's gone. That Walter Clayton touch and chemistry. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just asking a question. When you got a situation and the way those 3 senior guards played together, the unselfishness that they had, they didn't have the rat poison concern. That's not something that you can guarantee you'll have next year. And how much of a role could that play?
Well, it could, but I'll give you 2 numbers, 5.9 and 5.1. You know what that is? 5.9 is Xavier Lee's number of assists per ball game. 5.1 is Boogie Fland's number of assists per ball game. You're picking up, okay? You got guys who are accustomed.
I get you. I understand.
You got guys who are accustomed to sharing the basketball. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to throw in one other thing too. Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland give them two guys, and A.J. Brown too, a third guy, that are very, very skilled getting to the rim. And this is one of the things that helped them last year was everybody looks at those three-pointers Walter hit. Have you looked at some of the dunks that Elijah Martin had, or some of the ones that Will Richard had in there? This was a team that, Houston took away Walter's shot. So what happened? Okay, you got Elijah Martin had a couple ferocious dunks in there. So did Will Richard. But my one concern is not going to be on offense. They're going to score the points. They're going to share the ball. They're going to outscore probably 90% of the teams just by showing up. Here's my one concern. And that's one of the things I write about specifically in this book. The defense. Florida never got credit for the kind of defense they played. Everybody talked about Houston's defense, and Houston, no question, was a great defensive team. Florida was a great defensive basketball team.
What did they win the game on? A defensive play.
They won it on a defensive play. And here's the, people forget that the Florida Gators last year defensively were the number 6 team in the country. Houston was number 1. Florida was number 6. Now, that's pretty darn good. That's my one concern with this team coming up this year.
I got one.
Are they going to be able to match?
I'm sorry.
They're going to be able to match the defensive intensity they got on the perimeter last year.
Right. Good point. And I just in a closing minutes, I got about 45 seconds. The non-conference schedule, boy, oh boy, is that jacked up.
Well, if you're going to be, what was the great line by Ric Flair? If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man, And that's next year's Florida Gators. If you're going to be the man, you got to beat the man, and the man is called the Gator. What was it? Our former state rep, U.S. rep said, "Go Gator, go Gator, go Gator." Florida is going to be loaded next year. The Athletic has them as the number 5 team in the country next year. ESPN rates them number 2. I think we're looking at another Billy Donovan-like coach. I was talking with Bill Cost today, and Bill Cost thinks like I do. We may be looking at the next Dean Smith on our hands.
I got hold it to it. Thank you, Francis. Appreciate it. Look forward to your column tomorrow. We'll talk about the book again soon. The great Franz Beard. Get ready to turn out a really great book on Florida basketball. You'll want to get one. We'll tell you how you can order it next time. Thank you, Francis. I appreciate that. Go ahead and tell our friends and neighbors night now. Appreciate you all tuning in. I want to thank our sponsors, particularly this one, Titan MRI and Imaging. Now, Titan MRI and Imaging. They acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Colorio started Highfield in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI and Imaging now has 3 locations to serve you, 2 in Gainesville, with this Park Avenue location, and now the Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI and Imaging offers the same great customer service we've been telling you about for years. If you don't want to go during the office hours, they'll make you one at night. Call them and find out. They'll take care of it. They have those big cages now for you where you don't have to be claustrophobic when you get in there to get your MRI. Titan MRI Imaging accepts insurance, or you can go through the convenient self-pay options. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds. Like I said, easier scheduling through Titan MRI. So check them out. Titan MRI and Imaging coming to a neighborhood near you soon, including Marion County or in Gainesville and other places in North Florida. Check them out. Thank you for the sponsorships. I want to say thanks for listening. Thanks for watching tonight, folks. We hope you enjoyed the show. We certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. Good night.